Cheating ex-wife asks for a second chance. Hey, true story. My name's Jay. I was on YouTube just letting the algorithm take me wherever it wanted, and somehow I ended up watching a video titled something like Ex-wife gets karma after cheating. I sat there watching, nodding my head the whole time because every word felt like something pulled straight from my life. That night, I must have watched half your catalog. It was like therapy I didn't know I needed. So here I am, writing in, because I've got a story of my own, one that still makes my stomach turn, but also reminds me of how far I've come. I met Alyssa during what I thought was just a regular night out after work in downtown Charlotte. I work in logistics, long hours, stressful environment, so when Fridays rolled around, I'd usually hit a bar or two with a few coworkers just to unwind. That particular night, my coworkers bailed early, and I figured I'd hang around for one more drink before heading home. That's when I saw her. She was standing near the bar wearing this tight black dress, her hair in a loose bun with a few strands falling out. It looked effortless. She wasn't overly done up, but there was something magnetic about her, the kind of woman who didn't need attention, but somehow commanded it anyway. I remember she had this subtle confidence in her posture, like she knew exactly who she was and didn't have to prove it. I ordered another round and happened to catch her eye. She smiled, not one of those fake, polite smiles either, but a genuine one. I don't know what came over me, but I walked right up and said, "You look like someone who knows how to make a boring night interesting." She laughed, and that laugh, man, it hooked me immediately. We ended up talking for hours. It wasn't one of those surface level conversations either. We talked about music, growing up in North Carolina, her dreams of opening her own boutique one day, and my plans to start my own business in the future. It just clicked. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like I had to try. It just flowed naturally. When the bar started thinning out, she looked at me and said, "I never do this, but I trust you." Then she invited me back to her apartment. I remember thinking, this woman is something else. I wasn't used to women being that forward, but at the same time, she had this soft sincerity that made it feel special. We got back to her place, small but cozy, and talked a little more over some wine. Then, one thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together. I still remember that night vividly. It wasn't just the physical part, it was how connected it felt, like we'd known each other longer than a few hours. When I woke up the next morning, she was cooking breakfast, eggs, bacon, and coffee, like she'd been doing it for years. She smiled and said, "Don't get used to this. I never do this for guys." I left that morning thinking I'd probably never see her again, but something told me to text her later that day. She responded immediately, and from that point on, we were pretty much inseparable. For 2 years, we dated steadily. Those 2 years were some of the happiest I'd ever had. She was funny, supportive, and ambitious. We traveled, went to concerts, tried new restaurants, all the normal couple stuff, but it never felt boring. I'd been in relationships before, but none of them made me feel as grounded as she did. After 2 years, we got married. It was a small ceremony, just close family and friends. I remember standing at the altar thinking, I hit the jackpot. For the next 7 years, we built what I thought was a solid marriage. We bought a house together, adopted a dog, took trips every summer, and even started talking about kids. Everything seemed fine. But looking back now, there were little cracks, subtle things that I ignored because I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. She started getting distant, less affectionate, more secretive with her phone. She'd work late more often and say she was too tired when I'd try to plan something. I chalked it up to stress, maybe burnout from her job in marketing, but deep down I knew something was off. Then, out of nowhere, she asked for a separation. I still remember that conversation like it happened yesterday. We were sitting in the living room. She wouldn't even look me in the eye. Her voice was shaky but calm, rehearsed almost. She said, "Jay, I think I need some space to figure myself out. I love you, but I don't feel happy." I just sat there in silence for a minute. My stomach dropped. Figure yourself out? What does that even mean when you've been married for 7 years? I asked her if I'd done something wrong, if there was something I could fix, but she just shook her head and said, "It's not you. I just need some time." That line right there, "It's not you, it's me," is the biggest lie anyone can tell, because it's always something. Always. I remember telling her, who the hell takes a break from their marriage? She didn't have an answer. A few days later, she packed some things and went to stay with her mother. I thought maybe she just needed space and that she'd come around after cooling off. But days turned into weeks, and communication became nearly impossible. I'd call, she wouldn't answer. I'd text, no response. Her mom would pick up the phone occasionally, but every time, it was the same excuse. She's tired, or she's not feeling well. I knew something was up. You can't just vanish from your husband like that. One day, I decided I'd had enough of waiting and went through her stuff. Yeah, I know people will say that's invading privacy, but at that point I had a right to know what was going on in my own damn marriage. I started checking drawers, her closet, and then I found it, a shoebox tucked away in the back of her side of the closet. Inside were small folded notes and letters, all written in different ink colors, some on Post-its, some on fancy stationery. My heart sank before I even started reading. I knew exactly what it was. The first note said, "I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. I can still smell your perfume on me." The next one, "Last night was perfect. You look so beautiful under the city lights. I wish I could have stayed longer." And then another one that said, "I hate pretending at work like nothing's happening. I just want you all to myself." My hands were shaking at that point. The guy signed each note with the name Matt. It felt like someone had sucker punched me right in the chest. I couldn't breathe for a second. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I flipped through more notes, and then I found a little card. Looked like one of those cards you'd get with flowers, and on it was a short poem. Something like, "Your eyes light my world, your smile stops time. I can't wait to kiss you again." That one broke me, because suddenly everything clicked. The late nights, the separation, the emotional distance, it all made sense. She wasn't trying to find herself. She was already lost in somebody else. But what really got under my skin was the fear that this man had probably been inside my home. Maybe sitting on my couch, eating off my plates, laughing at me behind my back. The thought made my skin crawl. I confronted her that same week. I drove over to her mom's house and demanded to talk to her. She came outside looking annoyed, like I was interrupting her day. I showed her the letters, and her face went pale. She didn't even try to deny it. She just said, "Jay, I didn't mean for you to find those." That's all she said. Not "I'm sorry," not "it was a mistake," just that she didn't mean for me to find out. That's when I realized the kind of person I was dealing with. We separated officially the next month, and I filed for divorce. During the process, she had this smug, cocky attitude like she was leveling up. She'd say things like, "Maybe this will be good for you. Maybe you'll learn to be the man I needed." I remember thinking, you're the one who cheated, and somehow I'm the one who needs to learn. It was unreal. She acted like she was untouchable, like Matt was some prize she'd won. Every time I saw her during court meetings, she'd have that same arrogance. I found out later she had actually moved in with him a few weeks after leaving me. So yeah, she didn't need space. She just needed a new man to run to. The divorce dragged out for months. It was emotionally exhausting. I didn't even want anything from her. I just wanted peace. She tried to take more than her fair share too. She wanted half of everything, including my retirement savings. I fought it, of course. Eventually, I got a fair split thanks to my lawyer, but it drained me mentally and financially. Once everything was finalized, I cut all contact. I blocked her number, deleted her photos, and told her family not to reach out. I was done. completely done. But here's the part that'll make you shake your head, true story. About 6 months after the divorce, she came crawling back. Out of nowhere, I get this text from a new number saying, "Hey, can we talk?" I didn't respond. Then another message came through. "Jay, please, it's Alyssa." I ignored it at first, but curiosity got the better of me, so I finally answered. She said she just wanted to apologize and talk things through. Against my better judgment, I called her. She starts crying, saying things like, "I made a mistake. I miss you. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." I didn't say much. I just let her talk. Then she told me what happened. Turns out her golden boy, Matt, wasn't so golden after all. Apparently, he got her fired from her job. He had accused her of cheating on him with someone else she met online. The irony of it all nearly made me laugh out loud. The same woman who destroyed our marriage by cheating ended up getting cheated on by her new man. Karma doesn't miss. She told me she lost everything: her job, her relationship, and that she'd been living with a friend while trying to get back on her feet. I could hear the desperation in her voice. She said, "Can we meet up and talk? Maybe we can start over." I took a deep breath and told her, "Go kick rocks. You'll never come back here." Then I hung up. It felt good, I won't lie. After everything she put me through, that moment was the first time in a long time I felt like I had control again. Of course, she didn't stop there. She kept texting, calling, even emailing me. I didn't respond to a single one. She tried guilt, she tried pity, she even tried flirting. Nothing worked. And that's where I'll stop for now, true story. Because what came next, the extent she went to trying to get me back, that's a whole story on its own. The way she came crawling back wasn't just some "hey, I miss you" message or an emotional apology. It turned into this obsessive, desperate campaign to rewrite history and convince me that everything we had was somehow still worth saving. I remember the first sign that she wasn't done. It was about 2 weeks after that call. I was finally starting to feel normal again, sleeping better, focusing on work, hitting the gym again, even talking to a couple women casually. I was rebuilding, brick by brick. Then, one morning before heading to work, I walked out to my car and saw a folded note tucked under the windshield wiper. At first, I thought it was a ticket, but when I picked it up and unfolded it, I saw her handwriting immediately. "Jay, please talk to me. I know you said you're done, but I can't move on knowing I ruined everything. Please just give me 5 minutes of your time. A." I remember standing there in the parking lot, the morning air cold on my face, just shaking my head. Part of me was angry, and part of me almost laughed, because the same woman who ghosted me during our separation, who lied, cheated, and acted like she was too good for me, now couldn't take me not answering her calls. I crumpled the note, tossed it in the trash, and went about my day. A few days later, I got an email from her. It wasn't an apology this time. It was a full-blown letter. She wrote paragraphs about how she'd been depressed, how Matt turned out to be emotionally abusive, how she'd lost her sense of self. She said she'd been going to therapy and had realized the mistakes she made in our marriage. She even tried to spin it like we both had things to work on, that our communication broke down, and maybe we just needed that time apart to appreciate each other. It made me sick reading it, because I knew damn well what happened. There was no communication breakdown. There was deceit, lies, cheating. I didn't reply. Then the text started again, not from a new number this time, but from the same number I had blocked. Somehow she'd reset her phone or got a new SIM because her name started popping up again. The messages would start off polite and emotional. "Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry again. I don't expect a reply." Then a few hours later, "Please, Jay, can we just meet for coffee? I need closure." Then a day later, when I ignored her again. Wow, so you're really just going to act like I never existed after everything? I remember reading that one and thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's crazy how someone who completely destroyed your trust can suddenly play the victim when you stop giving them attention. But she wasn't done. A couple weeks went by and I thought she'd finally given up. Then one afternoon, while I was at work, one of my coworkers came into my office looking awkward. He said, "Hey man, there's a woman downstairs asking for you." I froze for a second. "What woman?" He said, "I don't know, man. Kinda blonde. Looks upset." My heart sank. I knew exactly who it was. I went downstairs and sure enough, there she was, standing outside near the parking lot, arms crossed, looking nervous but determined. I hadn't seen her face to face since the divorce. She looked different, tired, worn out. Not the same polished, confident woman I'd been married to. Her hair was messier, her eyes had dark circles, and she looked like she hadn't been sleeping much. When she saw me, she smiled weakly. "Jay, thank God. I didn't think you'd come out." I kept my distance. "What are you doing here, Alyssa?" I needed to see you. I've been trying to reach you, and I didn't know how else to get your attention." "You don't get my attention," I said flatly. "You lost that right when you decided to cheat." Her lip quivered, and she looked like she was about to cry. I know I messed up. I've been paying for it every day. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I cut her off. "You should have thought about that before you invited another man into our marriage." She took a step closer, but I stepped back. I wasn't about to let her try to manipulate me with tears again. I'd fallen for that before. Not anymore. She said, "Jay, please, you have to understand, Matt wasn't what I thought. He turned out to be toxic. He lied to me. He used me. I thought he loved me, but he just wanted to control me. He got me fired when he found out I was talking to someone else and—" "Someone else," I said. "You mean you cheated on him too?" She looked down, silent. That's when I realized it. She wasn't sorry because she loved me. She was sorry because she had nowhere else to go. Her safety net fell apart, and she wanted to come crawling back to the last person who ever gave a damn about her. I told her, "You need to leave. I don't want to talk to you, and I sure as hell don't want you showing up at my job again." She started crying harder, saying, "Please, Jay, can't we at least talk privately? Just once?" "No," I said, "go get help. Go fix your life, but I'm not part of it anymore." I walked back inside, and the whole office was staring through the windows. It was humiliating, but in a way, I was glad. Because everyone who'd heard me talk about what she did finally saw it for themselves. I figured that was the end of it, but no. A week later, I get a message from one of my female coworkers saying, "Hey Jay, some woman just followed me into the parking lot asking about you." I immediately called security and had them escort her off the property. I also called HR to let them know what was happening. I didn't want any rumors or misunderstandings. I just wanted peace. After that, I didn't hear from her for a while. A couple months went by and I was finally feeling better again. I'd started seeing someone new. Nothing serious at first, but she was good company. Down to earth, kind, and respectful. For the first time in years, I felt like I was breathing again. I was laughing, going out, sleeping through the night. My world was finally quiet. Then, like clockwork, Alyssa found out I was dating. I don't know how she found out. Maybe mutual friends, maybe social media. But she sent me an email titled, "Please don't replace me." The entire email was basically a guilt trip. She wrote, "I know I hurt you, but I still believe what we had was real. You can't just replace 7 years with some new girl. I still think about you every day. I still wear your old hoodie. I don't care if you hate me. I'll always love you." I deleted it instantly. But that's the kind of manipulation these women pull when they realize the door is finally shut. They can't handle being irrelevant to the man they betrayed. What she didn't know was that around that time, I'd finally started putting my energy back into myself. I picked up some new hobbies, started restoring an old Mustang with my uncle, and even took a solo trip to Arizona. For the first time, I was living for me. not for someone else's approval, not for someone else's love. Then one night around 11 p.m., I get a call from an unknown number. I usually don't answer those, but something told me to pick up. It was Alyssa. She was sobbing uncontrollably. I could barely make out what she was saying. Between the tears, I heard her say something like, "I don't know what to do, Jay. I don't want to be here anymore." I froze, because as much as I hated what she did, I didn't want her to hurt herself. I asked her where she was, and she said she was sitting in her car outside her mom's house. I called her mother immediately and told her to check on her daughter. Turns out, she wasn't suicidal. She was just drunk and emotional. Her mother later called me and apologized for her daughter's behavior, saying Alyssa had been drinking a lot and couldn't keep a job. That was the last straw for me. I changed my number. I blocked every possible avenue she could use to contact me. Email, social media, everything. I even filed a report with the police documenting the unwanted contact just to cover myself. I wasn't taking any more chances. After that, months went by in silence. For the first time, I truly felt like she was out of my life. And man, the peace that came with that was indescribable. I didn't realize how much weight I'd been carrying until it was gone. But the story doesn't quite end there. True story. About a year after the divorce, I ran into one of Alyssa's old coworkers at a mutual friend's party. We got to talking, and I asked, "Hey, whatever happened to that guy she cheated with, Matt?" He laughed. "Oh, that guy. He got fired a few months after Alyssa did. Apparently, he was sleeping with another woman in the office, the boss's assistant. Total clown show?" I couldn't help but laugh too. Karma doesn't need an invitation. It just shows up right on time. Later that night, I sat in my car just thinking about everything. The betrayal, the sleepless nights, the anger, all of it had finally come full circle. And I realized something. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's moving on. Because now she's stuck with the consequences of her choices, and I'm over here living the life she thought she could do better than. These days, I'm in a good place. I'm still with that woman I mentioned earlier, the one I started seeing casually. Her name's Nicole, and she's the complete opposite of Alyssa. No games, no manipulation, no secrets. She respects me, supports me, and I do the same for her. It's healthy, peaceful, and real. If I've learned anything through all this, it's that peace is priceless. I used to think closure came from the other person apologizing or admitting they were wrong, but it doesn't. Closure comes when you decide to stop letting that person live rent-free in your head. So if any guy out there is reading this or listening to this story on your channel, let me just say this. Don't ever let guilt or nostalgia make you reopen a door that God already closed. Once someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Alyssa's biggest regret isn't losing me, it's realizing that I moved on without her. She thought she was trading up, but what she really did was downgrade her own life. And now, when I look back, I don't even feel anger anymore. I just feel gratitude. Because her betrayal forced me to rebuild myself stronger than ever. So yeah, true story, that's how it all went down after the divorce. From her begging and stalking to her downfall and my healing, it was a long road, but I made it through. I don't wish her harm. I hope she gets help truly. But as far as I'm concerned, she's just a lesson now. A chapter I've closed for good. Where I'm at now, peaceful, grounded, finally free, but I'll admit, getting here wasn't easy. After everything that happened, the lies, the manipulation, the stalking, the emotional drain, I swore off relationships. I told myself I wasn't ever going to let another woman close enough to destroy me again. And for a while, I meant that with every fiber of my being. But as time passed, I started realizing something. Swearing off love completely wasn't the same thing as healing. It was just another form of running. What I really needed was to learn how to enjoy people again without expecting anything from them. No promises, no forever, no emotional contracts, just genuine human connection. That's where Melissa comes in. I met her earlier this year, completely by accident. I wasn't looking, wasn't trying, wasn't even thinking about dating. I'd gone out with a couple of friends to a local brewery on a Saturday night. They were trying to get me out of the house, saying I was becoming too much of a hermit. I laughed it off, but decided to go. The brewery was packed, music playing, people laughing, food trucks parked outside. I grabbed a beer and found a quiet corner near one of those gas fire pits they had out back. I wasn't really in the mood for small talk, just wanted to people watch and relax. That's when this woman walks up holding a tray with 4 beers and a couple of soft pretzels. She looked like she was struggling to balance everything. Without even thinking, I got up and said, "Here, let me help you before you drop all that." She laughed, and I remember thinking how easy that laugh was. No forced flirtation, no pretense, just genuine. "Thanks," she said, handing me one of the trays. "You just saved me from embarrassing myself." "No problem," I said, helping her carry everything over to her table. Turned out she was there with her younger brother and his friends. She introduced herself, Melissa, and then joked, "You've officially earned honorary big brother status for saving the night." We chatted a little, mostly surface level stuff. She asked what I did for work, where I was from, that kind of thing. I didn't give her my life story. I've learned to keep my cards close these days, but she had this natural way of making conversation that wasn't exhausting. When I went to leave a couple hours later, she stopped me and said, "Hey, before you go, you seem like someone who actually listens when people talk. That's rare. We should grab coffee sometime." I smiled and said, "Coffee sounds harmless enough." We exchanged numbers, and that was that. Now, I'll be honest, true story, at that time, I wasn't planning on following up. I figured she was nice, but I didn't want to lead anyone on. But the next day, she texted me a photo of a spilled coffee cup and said, "See, this is why I shouldn't make coffee at home. When are we fixing this?" That made me laugh, and for the first time in a long time, it felt good to laugh without cynicism attached to it. So, we met up later that week. It wasn't a date, at least not in my mind. It was just 2 people talking over coffee. She told me she worked in interior design, loved hiking, and had this big rescue dog named Jasper who apparently ruled her house. I told her a bit about my work, my car project, and how I'd been focusing on myself lately. The conversation just flowed. It didn't feel like I had to try. No pressure, no expectations. What struck me most was how comfortable silence was with her. You know how sometimes people try to fill every quiet moment with small talk? She wasn't like that. She could just sit, sip her drink, and be okay with the quiet. That's when I realized I missed that kind of peace. Not romance, not passion, but peace. We started hanging out every now and then. Sometimes we'd grab dinner, other times she'd swing by when I was working on the Mustang in my garage. She'd bring beer or tacos and sit on a stool while I worked, asking random questions about the car. At first I was guarded, maybe too guarded. I kept waiting for the catch, for the other shoe to drop, but it never did. She never pried into my past or asked about my ex unless I brought it up. And even then, she didn't pity me or try to play therapist. She just listened, nodded, and said, "Sounds like you went through hell, but you made it out." Simple, direct, and somehow exactly what I needed to hear. I remember one night I asked her why she never seemed to ask questions the way most people do when they sense you've got a story. She said, "Because sometimes people don't want to talk about the pain. They just want to exist without being defined by it." That hit me hard. For the first time, I felt like someone saw me as more than just the guy whose wife cheated on him. Now I know people might assume that's the setup for a new relationship, but here's the thing. I'm not looking for one. Not because I'm bitter, but because I'm content. Melissa knows that. I told her early on, I'm not looking for anything serious. And she smiled and said, That's fine. I'm not asking for anything from you. And she meant it. We've built this friendship that's not based on obligation or attraction. It's just genuine companionship. Sometimes we'll go for hikes with her dog. Sometimes we'll sit on my back porch, drink whiskey, and talk about life. Other times we don't talk at all, just listen to music or watch a game. It's simple, it's honest. And for me, that's rare. One thing I've learned since my marriage ended is that men are conditioned to feel like they always have to do something, fix something, chase something, earn something. I spent years in that mindset, trying to be a better husband, trying to prove I was enough, trying to fix a relationship that was doomed from the start because I was the only one trying. Now I don't feel the need to prove anything. I just am. I don't owe anyone a version of me that fits their needs. And with Melissa, that's understood. She's got her own life, her own goals. She travels for work sometimes, goes out with her friends, and I don't ask questions. When we hang out, it's natural. When we don't, there's no guilt. It's funny, some of my friends don't get it. They'll say things like, Man, she clearly likes you, or you're crazy if you don't make that official. But what they don't understand is that not every connection needs to lead to a label. Sometimes the most healing thing after being betrayed isn't finding new love. It's finding peace in not needing it. I'm not saying I'll never love again. Maybe one day. But for now, I'm focused on enjoying the calm after years of chaos. There's something powerful about being able to share space with someone without trying to own them or be owned, to just be. One night, we were sitting by a lake outside the city. It was one of those quiet summer nights where the air is warm, the sky is clear, and you can actually hear the crickets. We'd been talking about random things, like nothing deep. Then out of nowhere, she said, You seem lighter now. I asked her what she meant. She said, When I first met you, you carried yourself like someone who was bracing for impact, like you were waiting for something to go wrong. But lately, you just seem calm, like you finally trust the ground under your feet again. That stuck with me because she was right. For the longest time, I'd been living in a constant state of defense, waiting for betrayal, waiting for pain. But lately, I'd realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, almost invisible at times. But one day, you wake up and notice you didn't think about the person who hurt you. You didn't replay the arguments or the heartbreak. You just lived your day. That's where I am. Every so often, I'll still get a random memory of Alyssa. Maybe a place we used to go or a song that used to play in the car. But instead of pain, it's just nothing. Just a neutral memory. No bitterness, no sadness. That's when you know you're truly free, when the past doesn't own your emotions anymore. Melissa's become a part of my healing, even if she doesn't realize it. She reminds me that not every woman is a liar, and not every connection needs to end in betrayal. Some people are just meant to walk with you for a while, to help you remember what peace feels like. And maybe that's enough. I'm not building castles in the sky anymore. I'm not chasing fantasies or trying to fill voids. I'm content just building a good life, one day, one project, one quiet evening at a time. I've learned to appreciate the small things again. Mornings with black coffee and no noise. Working on my car with music playing. A hike through the woods where the only sound is my boots on the dirt. That's peace. I think as men, we forget how valuable that is. We get so caught up trying to achieve, fix, protect, and provide that we forget we're allowed to just be happy. If there's one message I'd want anyone hearing this story to take away, it's this. Never let pain make you close your heart to life, not love. life. Because life doesn't stop just because someone broke you. The sun still rises. The world still turns. You just have to decide whether you're going to keep staring at the wreckage or start rebuilding. Melissa may not be my future. I honestly don't know. But she's my present. A calm, steady presence that came into my life when I needed it most. And for that, I'm grateful. I've stopped thinking in terms of forever. I've started appreciating right now. And right now, I'm good. No more chasing what left. No more looking back. No more wondering, what if? Just peace. So yeah, true story. That's where I'm at these days. Not in love, not broken, just living. Enjoying the company of someone who reminds me what calm feels like. And maybe that's the best kind of happy a man can ask for. Until next time, Jay.